What's up, guys? So you may have seen this video, but recently my girlfriend sent me this video where there was a situation in which a robber came into a store of some sort, and this clerk was working behind it, and the robber reached in to grab the money, and when he tried to grab the money, the clerk grabbed him and started to fight with this guy. And it just so happened that the clerk behind the desk actually had trained in jiu-jitsu. It looked like he had a little bit of MMA experience, but for sure he was a grappler, right? He'd done jiu-jitsu. So when he hops over the counter, he starts to fight with this guy, they exchange some punches, and then he actually locks up with him, and from there the fight's done. So I wanted to talk about it because there's a couple takeaways that I sort of thought about sharing with you guys. There's more that we could get into the video, we could dive really deep into it, but for the sake of a 5 to 8 minute video, whatever it tends to be, I figured we would kind of keep it succinct and do 2 takeaways from this video. So we'll watch the actual video, what happened, and then talk about it.
For 2 years, Ibrahim Gawarji has been practicing these moves. Takedowns and grapples that he hoped he would never have to use in a real fight. But on Tuesday night, those skills were put to the test when a would-be robber tried to steal $600 from Ibrahim. The fight went on for several minutes with both men landing blows.
He's really strong. He gave me a hard punch in my face. You know?
But Ibrahim ended that fight thanks to a move he learned on the mat.
When I take him down, it's that guillotine or chuck. It's the best thing I can do.
That chokehold caused the would-be robber, 46-year-old John Benedict of Dorchester, to lose consciousness.
So guys, when you see that video, you see him lock up with the person. Once he's locked up, it's pretty much done, and that's kind of the way that jiu-jitsu works in a fight situation. Once you make contact with the person, you clinch, you're in control. And what was interesting about this fight was, first off, that he got a standing guillotine choke. And I just did a video on it maybe a month ago, talking about using a standing guillotine choke in a fight situation. And I also talked about the focus on chokes in a street fight situation. If you're going to have to fight and you're going to have to use your jiu-jitsu, I would tend to sort of avoid joint locks. If you have to use a joint lock, it's fine, but it's not going to necessarily have that desired finality that you want in a street fight situation. Because think about it, if a guy's hopped up on adrenaline or maybe drugs, whatever, if you pop a wrist or an arm or whatever, it might hurt him, but it may not stop him, and they may keep going. Whereas if you put someone in a choke, it puts them to sleep. They're done. In that situation, that was an exact, or a great example of a guy. He put him in a standing guillotine choke, right? And he put the guy down, and that was it, done. The guy's choked out, he was able to subdue him, and that was that. And that's awesome. And then the second thing, and what more importantly that I wanted to talk about, was probably one of the biggest benefits we get through jiu-jitsu, right? The techniques are important, the techniques are very good, but the techniques by themselves are only half the equation, right? They go hand in hand with the training methodology in jiu-jitsu, which is where we use our techniques in live situations. This is not just jiu-jitsu specific, this is also in boxing and wrestling and judo and sambo and all these different combat sports. But in the combat sports and martial arts, you use your techniques in live situations. Now, why is that so important, right? Well, techniques are great, right? But if you never learn how to use those techniques under stress, you're never going to be able to use them in these live situations. I'll give you an example. A lot of people think that if they have a gun, they're going to be safe, right? Like I hear people all the time say, oh, to hell with jiu-jitsu or to help with this self-defense martial arts stuff, go buy a gun. Okay, well great, buy a gun. Now, if you've ever actually tried to use a gun when your heart rate's elevated, it's very difficult, right? Like if you do a drill where you get your heart rate up really, really high, right? Where you get up to almost a max heart rate, and then you immediately have to draw your weapon and then shoot it with some relative accuracy. If you've ever had to do that, you understand how incredibly hard it is. And so if you don't actually train with your weapon, you don't get your heart rate elevated, you don't actually do, put in rounds at a range somewhere, then when it comes time to where all of a sudden you've got this live situation that you've never prepared for, and you've got this weapon that you got to use, and you're going to try to use it, good luck. Probably not going to happen. You've got a little piece of metal sitting in your pocket that you can't use, and it makes you feel safe. It's a weapon though, and you have to use it. It's a tool. In your body, all you're learning through combat sports is how to learn how to use your body as a weapon. I mean, that's what you're doing, whether it be, any of the martial arts, right? That's what we're learning how to do. But the importance is that you're learning how to do it in the combat martial arts, combat sports, through stress. And you have to have it because your body adapts, right? So when you are bombarded with stress over and over and over again, your body gets pretty good at dealing with it, right? Whereas for the first time, everybody has probably experienced this, your first time sparring, first time rolling, at a hard pace, you go in there and your body's freaking the hell out. It doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know how to navigate through the positions, and you get really tired really fast. Your heart rate's going, and you're usually zapped pretty quickly. Well, that's going to happen to you in those situations too on the street if you have never prepared for this stuff. And again, this guy in this situation, he does jiu-jitsu, right? So I guarantee that he was not ever sort of put in a scenario where he's sitting behind a desk and then he's, sitting there doing his job, doing whatever it is that he does, and this guy comes in to try to rob him. I guarantee that never was worked on specifically, but because his body had become so well adapted to stress through the physical training that he's done in the gym over and over again for however long he's done it, when it came time to have to fight and came time to have to do something, he was able to react, opposed to freezing, because your fight or flight mechanism, right? You got fight, flight, or freeze. So fight, again, you have to be able to deal with stress to fight back. Flee, right? If you're gonna run, you have to again be able to function, because if your body freezes, which is the last one, because you get so freaked out, you can't do either one. So you're just stuck. And this happens all the time. People get into situations that they have no preparation for, and they just freeze. And so I wanted to bring this up because a lot of people get really hung up on the techniques and stuff like that, but the techniques is only one part of the equation. The techniques are great, but unless you do things in live situations with some stress, while the situations, right, the scenarios may not be the exact thing that you're going to face, should it be a street fight situation, right? At least your body is being dealt some sort of stress so that should anything like that happen, you are going to be more well adapted to it when it happens, like when the stress pops up, right? As opposed to, again, if you're doing technique and you never roll, or if you're doing like punching drills and things like that, but you never spar, well then when it comes time to actually have someone trying to punch you or grab you or do something to you, you're not going to be able to do it because your body has no adaptation to that stress. It's very important. So guys, just a little ramble about that, but I wanted to share that with you guys because I know a lot of you guys are getting into this stuff, and a lot of you guys are white belts that are watching the channel, and we got all kinds of people, but we do have a lot of white belts watching the channel. When you guys watch this, I want you to understand what you're getting into with this martial art. What you're learning is very important technically, right? But just as important are all those rounds on the mat where you're being put into stressful situations where your body's really having to pump hard and get its heart rate up, and you're having to pull people's arms off your neck, or when you go to a jiu-jitsu competition and you're super nervous and your heart rate's up and your adrenaline's pumping, and you have to cope in those situations, those chaotic situations where you can't pinpoint every little thing that's going to happen. Or if you go to an MMA fight where you have all those variables, those things, while they may not be the exact situations that you would find yourself on the street, they're still going to prepare you for those crazy situations, because what happens is by becoming adapted to stress, you can be cool, calm, and collected in those stressful situations. I feel like I've said the word stress like 20 times in this video. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys soon.